Good morning, I'm Jess De Los Santos. This is a special coverage of the coronavirus crisis using the combined forces of News 5 and Signal TV's
ngayong balita mula sa mga umiikot na text messages. Mismo ang bahay naman ni Senador Coco na si Catherine ay nagsabing hindi raw totoo na pumasok sa delivery room si Senador Coco dahil nung gagawin pa lang daw ang stress test na tinatawag kay Catherine sa examination room ay di na raw pinayagan ang sino mang bantay na samahan siya. Ayon din kay Catherine, ilang linggo nang naka-self-quarantine ang senador at nagpa-practice din daw ito ng social distancing. 10 araw na rin daw silang hindi magkasama sa iisang kwarto sa kanilang bahay. Samantala, noong Martes lang daw talaga sinamahan ni Senador Pimentel si Catherine sa ospital dahil excited daw ito sa panganganak na nakaschedule nga sana kahapon ng alas 7 ng umaga pero pinadelay na muna ito. Dinelay ang cesarean procedure ni Catherine dahil nagsagawa muna ng swab test sa kanya bago siya payagang manganak. Ayon kay Senator Pimentel, nasa RITM pa ang sample at ngayong araw ito lalabas. Samantala, itinanggi ni Pimentel na personal sila ang tinulungan ni Health Secretary Francisco Duque para makakuha ng kwarto sa ospital. Giit ng senador, tinawagan lang siya ni Secretary Duque kahapon ng umaga dahil tinanong siya tungkol sa kanyang kondisyon. Pero gabi pa lang ng Martes, naka-admit na si Catherine. Samantala, just tinawag ng Makati Medical Center na irresponsable at tila walang pakialam daw si Pimentel sa kanyang pagsuway sa protocol ng quarantine. Bago kasi siya pumisita sa ospital, nakaranas na siya ng ilang simptomas gaya ng ubo, lagnat, sore throat at pananakit ng katawan, kaya nga raw pinayagan na siyang magkaroon ng test mula sa RITM nung nakaraang Biyernes. Ayon sa Medical Director ng MMC na si Dr. Saturnino Javier, nakadagdag pa si Pimentel sa bigat na dinadala ng ospital ngayong na-expose sa kanya ang health workers na nagtatrabaho doon. Posible daw na kailanganing i-quarantine ang ilang health workers na nakaharap ni Pimentel nung Martes ng gabi, kaya mas kukunti pa raw tuloy ang tao nila. Samantala, Jess, kapapasok lang yung bagong statement ni Senator Coco Pimentel at paulit-ulit siyang humingi ng paumanhin sa Makati Medical Center. Inulit din niya ang dahilan kung bakit siya naroon para nga daw samahan yung kanyang manganganak na misis. Humihingi raw siya ng tawad sa management at staff ng MMC at wala raw siyang intensyong makasagabal at makapanghawa ng sakit. Ipiniliwanag din ni Pimentel na sa kaunting oras na nasa loob siya ng ospital, wala raw siyang ubo o lagnat at nakasuot din daw siya ng face mask at gloves. Hiling din ng senador na alagaan daw sana ng ospital ang kanyang mag-ina. Kahit pa sinasabi ng ospital na lumabag siya sa protocol ng self-quarantine, wala raw siyang intensyon na gawin ito. At na-realize daw niya na sa pagpunta niya sa MMC ay naging dahilan ng takot ito sa mga frontliners na nagtatrabaho para sa kaligtasan ng lahat. Bukas naman daw ang senador na makipag-usap sa MMC at humihiling siya ngayon, Jess, ng pangunawa. Bigyan din daw sana siya ng pagkakataon na makarecover din muna sa sakit na dala ng COVID-19. Jess?
Okay, meron na ba tayong narinig mula sa mga kapwa senador ni Senator Coco Pimentel, reaction nila hinggil nga doon sa nangyaring insidente? At the same time, is this something that they're also willing to look into? We've already heard from the DOJ, sabi nila they cannot really investigate unless somebody files a complaint. Is this something that at least our legislators are willing to look into?
Hindi ko alam kung nakita mo rin yung sinasabing listahan daw ng mga posibleng kasong kaharapin, ano? Kasama na nga raw dyan yung ethics na pwede niyang nilabag daw bilang isang senador na alam niyang may sakit na siya pero pumunta pa rin siya sa ospital. Pero hanggang sa mga oras na ito, wala pang sagot ang liderato ng Senado at hihintayin natin yan sa maghapon kung ano man. But dahil nga sa ngayon, ang hinihiling talaga ni Senator Pimentel ay bigyan siya ng pagkakataong gumaling at sana makapanganak ng maayos at ligtas yung kanyang asawa. Sabi nga niya, sana daw itratong professional na parang normal na pasyente yung kanyang asawa sa MMC.
Alright, maraming salamat, Mean Los Baños. Rizal Governor Nini Ynares joins other government officials who have tested positive for COVID-19. In a Facebook post, former Antipolo City Mayor June Ynares III says his mother might have contracted the virus during her visits to Rizal residents. The former mayor adds that the governor is in stable condition. Her husband, former Rizal Governor Ito Ynares, is also under quarantine. As of Wednesday, Antipolo City alone has reported 9 confirmed COVID-19 cases. The San Miguel Corporation increases its ethyl alcohol production to 100,000 liters per day. That's to help the country's fight against COVID-19. SMC targets to further serve frontliners, cities and provinces in need of disinfectants. President and COO Ramon Ang confirmed that all of their facilities are working round the clock to produce ethyl alcohol. Currently, the company has donated almost 30,000 liters of alcohol to 77 hospitals throughout Metro Manila, as well as other government and vital institutions. Ang added that this is their company's way to thank all frontliners in the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, 4 people involved in hoarding and selling overpriced alcohol online were arrested in Pasay. The suspects fell in an entrapment operation led by the Pasay City Police. Seized from the group were 500 bottles of 500 ml alcohol. They are selling it for almost 200 pesos per bottle. The suspects, together with the evidence recovered, were turned over to the Pasay Station Investigation and Detective Management Branch. We'll continue the discussion over at One News, 1PH and Radyo 5. For now, that's the latest on the coronavirus crisis. For News 5, I'm Jess De Los Santos. We are One News. This epidemic is not just causing widespread health devastation and a massive shift in lifestyles, but is making people rethink where to put their money. Back with us on broadcast from her home is Danny Laurel, who gives us a market update. Dan, wow, it's been a while. What is the latest?
First of all, hi Jess, so happy to be back. I mean, what is the latest since the last broadcast we've had? That was about a week and a half ago. The last broadcast we had was just basically around the time when the World Health Organization declared the COVID-19 as a global pandemic, and this is what really shook the already shaky global equity markets. Now, we're actually opening just at this moment, and we are up a hefty 2%, so we are now at 5,128.27. This, of course, following a really good rally that we saw yesterday. Yesterday, we saw ourselves breaking back above the 5,000 mark rather. So we did see a rally of 5 3/10% yesterday, and now continuing that rally. But still, nevertheless, year to date, we're still down by more than 30%, Jess. But at least BDO's Jonathan Ravelas is saying some confidence is coming back in. So why this sudden confidence? Well, first of all, what we saw in the markets, which spurred a rally here domestically, is the U.S. and all of their plans. They said that they will be, having a stimulus of around $2 trillion budget. Some, of course, going to healthcare, some going just directly to pockets of people. And this is what analysts said spurred the optimism in the rest of global equities. And we did see a lot of trading volumes yesterday. That was at 7.1 billion pesos ex-block sales. Another thing that has spurred optimism in the markets recently, Jess, are the recent actions of the BSP. So they have, used monetary policy to really combat the possibility of a a recession and a slowdown here in the country. So first of all, they did cut the borrowing costs and the last March 19 meeting, as we know. So they pulled the trigger on a 50 basis points cut. That is a big cut, and that is now bringing our borrowing rate, our benchmark rate, to 3.25%. Now, what this means in principle is that the borrowing costs of companies are now going to be much lower. And in these times where, they're shut down, it's so difficult for them to produce, they need a lot of cash, they can now go to banks and borrow at a much cheaper cost. And we did see, at least for instance, SM Prime, our biggest property player, just announced an issuance of 15 billion pesos worth of bonds. So a lot of people, tapping into the bond markets right now. Another thing that the BSP has done, they've also cut the triple R ratio of the banks by 200 basis points. It will now be 12% for big banks, and that will take into effect on March 30. Now, what is this in principle? The banks, in theory, need to keep some money with the central bank just as, a buffer, so that if something happens, the central bank has money to bail them out, and this amount that they need to keep has now been freed. And that gives banks more leeway and more liquidity to give money into the system again. And again, corporates have some relief there and some liquidity. Benjamin Diokno, of course, our central bank governor, is saying this is going to be calming the markets and encouraging banks to continue lending, and he does flag more triple R cuts to come. He says that this release alone will release about 200 up to 200 billion pesos in the system. Now, this is what Chris Mangon of AAA Equities is saying has helped investors relax. So we are currently up for the week, and I see in my terminal right now, I do have my Bloomberg terminal at home, that markets are continuing to percolate on the back of good news. Union Bank's chief economist Carlo Asuncion saying that this would ensure cash flow, and he says, and I quote, "We are still in a good place." And you've got our CBC's Mike Ricafort saying this could still even push peso funds to start buying back into the markets, Jess.
Well, Dan, much of the slump that we saw last week was after the financial markets actually closed for 2 days. At least the index closing for 2 days last week after the quarantine announcement. And a lot of investors are in fact worried over that. What's the assurances that this is not going to happen again?
Okay, so good point. So when we, went off air for the markets, that was on the back of the PSE first announcing short-term trading hours until just 12:50 p.m. So basically by 1 p.m. close na yung markets natin. They're still sticking to this. That's on the back of, they don't want people coming to work and traders having to, take these risks. So they want to keep open, but the trading hours will be shortened. Now, nevertheless, because of a lot of things had gone on, the finance secretary even asked the SSS and GSIS to start buying issuances of stocks, but still this wasn't enough to quell very, very turbulent markets, and they shut down for 2 days. And we actually had PSE's president Ramon Monzon talking to Bloomberg and saying that he was against the closure. So if it were up to him, they would have continued trading, but as it happens, there were 2 trading days that were closed. And when this was announced and people started figuring out the trading would be closed, there was a huge sell-off on Monday just before the closure, which brought our index as much down by as much as close to 20%. So that was a record low out a lot on the back of these announcements. Now, Secretary Dominguez has said this will not happen again. They will not be shutting down capital markets again. He says they will keep a steady hand and see how all of these things develops and continue supporting the markets. Now, why all of this sell-off? Well, Manny Cruz of Papa Securities is saying that when you shut down the bourse, you restrict the exit mechanisms for people. They cannot, sell or buy anymore. Investors not happy, and if you restrict that, they panic and basically flee. But BDO's Jonathan Ravelas is saying it was actually a smart move on the back of the central bank and the DOF, saying because the market reaction had been exaggerated the days prior. So what other things does Secretary Dominguez have in mind? He says the government will also be raising debt. So we are now in talks to be borrowing 1 billion pesos worth of money, basically, because he says that tax collections will be weak because of the shutdown. So recall, corporates, people with less incomes will not be giving the government money anymore, and they need to get this money somewhere else. They will also be granting some tax amnesty, so people, will have extensions on how to pay their income taxes. And because of this, Dominguez is going to be tapping offshore debt.
So at least you have officials, most of our economic managers really going hands-on in this one, really making efforts. Question now is, we're seeing the index at least at the start of the trading day opening in the green. Does this rally have legs?
Let's hope so, Jess. But, you know, of course, the general sentiment is there's still a lot of work to be done. We've seen a lot of monetary policy coming in, but you've got Nikki Mapas saying that when will the fiscal side be coming in? So that amid, you know, the government saying that the economy may even contract this year, and there's a lot of caution all around, and analysts are warning these risks are still very much on the table. So one clear evidence of this, Jess, was yesterday we saw net foreign selling ballooning yet again. So we saw 1.7 billion pesos, that's close to 2 billion pesos, just from foreigners getting out of our local bourse, and that's the 8th consecutive day. So it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, we see a rally that foreigners are having the confidence to buy back into Philippine equities. You do have Jonathan Ravelas again of BDO. He's saying that a rebound is underway, so he does see some room for upside. Recall, we're back above 5,000 levels. He sees it up to 5,800, but he does say there will be some profit taking going on. Again, people need the money, people need the cash, right? So in the meantime, though, you know, I just want to end this market hit with some good news. I mean, you already mentioned that the bourse is up by 1 4/10%. I just want to mention some movers here that I'm seeing. You've got Bloomberry Resorts, of course, the casino player, surging by as much as 11 4/10% this morning. Mega World is up by more than 4%. It's one of the biggest leaders. A lot of, you know, the property space actually rallied yesterday and seems to be continuing that. So apart from Mega World, you've also got Robinson's Land, one of the best performers here. But you've got also PLDT. So that's been a stock pick of a lot of our analysts because, you know, you stay home, you use your data, you watch your Netflix. People need to communicate, and PLDT is actually the 3rd best performer right now, up by 0.4%. You've still got a few of them sitting out this rally. Semirara in particular is the worst performer, down by 2 8/8%. And you know, you did report in your break that San Miguel and a lot of distillers are actually going to step in and produce help. So I just wanted to take, you know, a quick peek on how those are doing, and hopefully you'll be seeing it on your screens there. I've asked our producers to give you the price of that. But basically, you've got, you know, San Miguel saying that Ginebra will be producing 100,000 liters per day of 70% ethyl alcohol. Right now, San Miguel is trading up by 2%. You're going to be seeing Alliance Global. Of course, they make Emperador. They've pledged to donate 1 million liters. It's a lot of rubbing alcohol. AGI as well, which of course also has stakes in Mega World, up by more than 2%. And finally, you know, Asia Brewery and Tanduay targeting to produce 190,000 liters. LTG stock is now up by 0.3%. They've been battered, you know, before, but actually now is enjoying a bit of a bump up. And finally, just want to add to that, I mean, it's not a distiller, but you've actually got DNL, so they create, you know, compounds and chemicals. They're saying they're going to boost their production of cleaning solutions to help in this crisis, Jess. So again, you know, just to end with how our markets are doing right now, we are still above 5,000. That's good news. We're up by 1 3/10%, trading at 5,092.80 this Thursday, Jess.
All right, let's see if that rally above 5,000 holds true for the rest of the day. Thank you very much, Danny Laurel, reporting to us live from her home. Maraming salamat, Danny. We'll see you later. The World Health Organization reiterates its call for virus-stricken countries to be aggressive in responding to the COVID-19 pandemic, and among the ways is imposing lockdowns. The agency recommends 6 key actions to affected countries. First, to expand, train, and deploy public health workers. It also asks global leaders to come up with a system to find every suspected case at the community level. Another key is ramping up the production and capacity of testing. The WHO also advises countries to identify and equip designated facilities for COVID-19 patients. Countries are also advised to develop a clear plan and process to quarantine contacts. Lastly, the WHO urges governments to refocus on suppressing the virus. And that's the latest on the enhanced and expanded community quarantine in Luzon. For more updates, follow News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World Online. I'm Jess De Los Santos, BR1 News.